What's up, Banter fam? Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Miles, and I stream every single day at 1:30 a.m. EST to give you guys the best DeFi strategies, crypto alpha, and more. Today, I will be discussing some huge developments in the Fantom ecosystem right now, which are absolutely changing the game. It's going to be a massive show. I'm going to explain why these events are massive for Fantom holders and how you guys can capitalize to take advantage in the Fantom ecosystem right now, because we haven't seen some of these events play out since Ethereum a couple years ago. So it's pretty crazy what is happening on the network right now. And I'm going to break down exactly what's happening in the Fantom ecosystem and give you guys a little bit of alpha of where the ecosystem is headed over the next year or so. It's going to be a massive show. So without further ado, let's get into it. Get up, get up, let's go. Welcome back, Banter fam, to another show where I stream to you every day to give you guys the best DeFi alpha in the market. What a day we've had in the Bitcoin market right now. I'm going to talk everything Fantom in today's show, but I have to go over what's happening with Bitcoin and some of these alts and some of the price action right now to give you guys an idea of where we're sitting at the moment and what my strategy is going forward and how you can take advantage. So over the last day, we have seen a pretty substantial dip from Bitcoin, over 9% over the last day, as there's been a little bit of sell-off amid fears that Russia is going to invade Ukraine. So there is a little bit of macro uncertainty on top of the rate hike fears, which is causing a little drop in the Bitcoin price. The good news, however, is that there's been quite a strong buy wall at this 40K region. We know that was a strong region of resistance in the past. It's now flipping to become a little bit of a support trend for us. So if we can hover and kind of stay over the 40K region, that fills me with a little bit of confidence, but we'll need to wait and see what happens to the Bitcoin price to be able to dictate what happens in the alt market. However, something really interesting to note is that the Bitcoin dominance actually dropped today alongside the Bitcoin price. It wasn't a linear fall from Bitcoin where the alts tanked harder. We actually saw the alts holding up better than Bitcoin, which is crazy. And that is a really major indicator to me that there is still strength in this market, that there is still huge belief in this market, because, I mean, whenever we get a major rally to the upside in Bitcoin dominance, that can indicate that the Bitcoin price is stronger than the alts, but we saw the opposite this time. We saw the Bitcoin dominance coming down with the Bitcoin price, which indicates to me that we still are in this new cycle. Whether some of these macro fears and uncertainty end up impacting the price, we could come down to 38K, I mean, or even lower potentially. I mean, that remains to be seen. We don't know exactly how low we can go, but the best strategy in this market is to dollar cost average and continue to spread out your bets over a period of time to be able to profit long term. And that is a strategy I always preach. So I am taking a day like today as a buying opportunity. I'm not wallowing in any sorrow right now. I'm actually pretty happy that I'm able to get some better entries on some of these alts because they've been running away recently. So it's positive that we are able to start getting some entries. And just to reiterate, we are seeing some strength across the alts. Bitcoin is down 7% for the day, but some of these major alts are down less. Solana's down less than Bitcoin. Avalanche is down less than Bitcoin. If we scroll down to Fantom, which today's show is going to be about, that's down less than Bitcoin, and it's even up 1.3% over the last hour. So we are seeing the alts hold up well. Hopefully they can follow suit and remain to hold up pretty well, because we are seeing some pretty nice strength here, which is a positive indicator that this cycle isn't over. We're just getting started, and that is kind of my belief right now, but we need to wait and see for some of these macro uncertainties to kind of clear. I did do a tweet today actually to address this, because I get a lot of questions on when should I buy? Is now the right time to buy? Should I wait? And I reckon the question, should I buy now, is kind of the wrong question we should be asking. The real question we should be asking is, how aggressively should I be deploying? Because my strategy with crypto is to always be continuously buying with some of my income outside crypto, with some of my profits from my farming, and continuously average into the market over a period of time, over a long period of time. Because I'm in this market for multiple years. I'm going to be here for 2, 3, 10 years to ride out this market, because I have huge belief in blockchain technology, and I think that crypto is the future, of course, and that's why you're all here as well, because I'm sure you believe that too. So I think it's really important to efficiently allocate capital instead of getting too caught up in, should I be buying now? Should I wait? I think DCAing is always the best way. As I said, I'm bullish over the space over the next few years, so I'll be taking any advantage of a dip that we can get whilst the macro structure remains intact. As long as there's dips, I will keep buying them, and that's always been my strategy. Can we go lower? Yes, that's why I always keep some stables on the side for deployment if we do go lower, and I always take a percentage of my farming income back into stablecoins so I can take advantage of dips like today. If you weren't taking profits into stablecoins when we were getting that rally, maybe that is an indicator in the future that you can tweak your strategy a little bit to always have stables at all times, so you don't run yourself dry buying up these dips, which obviously a lot of people do. But you guys came here to talk Fantom, and I'm here to talk Fantom, so that is going to be the major talking point of today's show. Obviously, now that we're getting some dips, we are getting some opportunities into various ecosystems, and there's no ecosystem that is stronger than the Fantom ecosystem right now, in my opinion. And I'm not just going to say that, I'm going to show you guys why I believe that to be the case, because we've seen some huge developments over the last week, which are really different to what's happened on Fantom in the past. I'm not going to go through the usual metrics that I go through today in terms of address growth and that kind of stuff, because we know Fantom is tracking really well on chain, but I'm going to show you some interesting dynamics that are playing out on the chain that we haven't seen in a long time, and it's really a first for the Fantom chain to be seeing some of these developments right now. So I'm going to show you how to take advantage of that, and also what it might mean for the Fantom chain and its price, because obviously the Fantom price has been kind of lulling in this $2 region. Obviously we tested those the $3 region, got rejected as Bitcoin came down, but now we are starting to show signs that maybe, just maybe, we're prepping for that next leg up to push to all-time highs again. And I'm going to give some potential reasons why that may be the case in today's video. So let's get straight into the Fantom news, and I have to start by talking about Beethoven, because that is where the real action has come over the past week. So if we just look across the Fantom ecosystem right now, Beethoven is only down 2.3% over the last 24 hours, despite an 8% Bitcoin correction. And it's only down 11% over the past week. It is the strongest narrative in the Fantom ecosystem right now. And I'm going to explain why it's showing this strength and the reasons why, potentially, if we get a rally up in the market, why Beethoven can be at the forefront of that, and what is developing in terms of the Beets Wars right now. I'm going to explain everything to do with Beethoven, because I think it is probably the best altcoin in the Fantom ecosystem right now. I don't take that lightly when I say that, because there is a lot of great projects, Spooky Swap, Spirit, obviously Liquid Driver, I absolutely love, but there's nothing better than Beethoven right now because of this Beethoven war, which we are seeing play out. And I'm going to explain exactly what that is in today's show. But first, I have to explain what Beethoven is, because not all of the viewers here will know what it is. So pretty much, Beethoven is a DEX on Fantom. It is a balancer fork, which means it's a fork of an Ethereum protocol called Balancer that came over to the Fantom network. Now, pretty much the essence of Balancer is that it kind of operates like an index fund with its pools. So it offers multi-token pools, which enable you to deposit assets across a variety of tokens in an LP instead of just your standard 2 tokens. Now, this has a major benefit, and that is Beethoven is actually able to offer the cheapest rates on Fantom, because the amount of spread between the tokens is made smaller when you have a multiple token LP. So when you lower the spread between tokens, you're able to offer more competitive rates, which enables swaps to be cheaper. And that's driven a lot of users over to Beethoven, because they've realized, why should I use Spooky Swap or Spirit Swap when I can use Beethoven and get cheaper rates? And also, these pools are super enticing because the APRs across the pools are insane. I mean, you can get 450% on the monolith, 214%, 188%. I mean, the APRs are crazy, and these aren't on bad pools either. Like Pirate Party is a pool that I think is really, really awesome. It's a liquid driver Fantom pool. It's pretty much liquid driver single staking for 125%. So Beethoven is offering some of the best rates in crypto, and it's also offering some of the best swap rates across the Fantom ecosystem, which is why people have been flocking to Beethoven ahead of other chains on the Fantom ecosystem. Now, I want to kind of back this up with some data because obviously, we need data to prove that people are actually using the Beethoven DEX more than they are other DEXs on Fantom. And we can come in here on CoinGecko and look at the top decentralized exchanges, and we can see that Beethoven is actually ranked 19 right now. It did $41 million worth of swap volume over the last day, which puts it as the second highest ranked DEX in the Fantom ecosystem after SpookySwap, which is ranked 6. So it's doing a third of the volume of SpookySwap almost, and it's a top 20 DEX in crypto, which is a positive sign because people aren't just using the pools, they're actually using Beethoven to swap. So it has this dual utility over other DEXs on Fantom that other DEXs may not have, because you're able to get the good rates, you're able to stake the token to earn rewards, and you're also able to swap for extremely good rates. So the Beethoven DEX is great. But you guys need to know about the Beethoven Wars, which is the real reason why this price action has been so strong. So I'm just going to have to backtrack a little bit and kind of explain some context before I go into the Beets Wars, because it can be a little bit of a complicated topic to wrap your head around, but hopefully I can simplify it for you guys that maybe don't understand what it means. So pretty much we saw Beethoven come out with a gauge model. Now, what a gauge model is different pools you can come in and boost certain pools in order to achieve a better APR in the Beethoven ecosystem. So it came out with gauges which enable protocols to buy Beets and then come in and boost their own pools to boost rewards to their own holders. So what a gauge model enables you to do is have the governance holders, in this case, the Beets holders, boosting rewards on the Beethoven protocol. Now, this is super unique because it is basically an incentive for you to hold Beets tokens. So you're incentivized to hold Beets tokens because then you're able to vote and you get voting rights over boosting pools, which is a super interesting aspect of Beethoven. Now, we have seen the gauge model across other protocols as well. We saw gauges on Curve with the Curve convex kind of wars playing out, and that kind of kicked off this whole kind of Beets Wars premise because what Convex was doing is they were going and they were buying up Curve tokens, locking them up, and then boosting their own pools in order to pay out their holders in spades, pretty much, because they were able to buy up Curve tokens and boost their own pools to improve their rewards. Now, this has actually ended up being a really interesting development with Beethoven, because we've seen this kind of Beets Wars play out to the point that people are buying up these tokens so they can get voting rights. So there's been a massive rush of people coming over to Beethoven and buying up the token because they want governance rights over these votes, which can really reap some really big rewards for the holders, as I'll show you in a minute through the snapshot. And I've even got a calculator to help show you guys how you can personally benefit off the Beets Wars. But Drake on Digital did an interesting thread on this, and he said, how does the Beethoven chart actually look like this despite a Bitcoin correction taking place? Because Beethoven's actually pretty much at all-time highs despite Bitcoin crashing. It's showing insane strength, and this is obviously to do with the Beets Wars and a thing called Bribes. So what's actually happening is protocols are coming into Beethoven and they're saying, how can we get our own pools boosted? How can we improve rewards to our token holders? And they're saying, well, we can actually bribe Beethoven holders with capital for them to vote for our pools. So what happens is they can take, let's say, a project like Exodia, which has been giving out bribes to its holders. Exodia can offer a certain amount of bribes to Beets token holders for voting for their pool to boost their own pool. So what that enables the Beets token holders to do is receive airdrops that are given to them in the form of a bribe, which incentivizes them to vote for a certain pool. So there's actually a snapshot taking place at the moment. It is the snapshot right now, and it's the round 4 snapshot on Beethoven. So this has been going for 4 rounds, so almost 2 months. And that is ever since the gauge model was implemented, we've seen different pools offering different incentives. But what's happening at the moment is there's been a huge ramp up in the amount of bribes being given to Beets holders, because there is a huge competition right now in the Fantom ecosystem to fight for governance on Beethoven, because there's so much of an incentive for these protocols to come in, because they might bribe $100,000 worth of tokens to Beets holders, but what they're actually receiving back is potentially hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars worth of rewards, which are directed to their own pools. So this is what's happening right now. If you own Beets tokens, so FBEETS, which is the governance token of Beethoven, you can come in and you can vote for certain pools on this snapshot. As I said, there's a snapshot every single week. This is round 4. And what you're able to do is come in and vote for the pool that you like the look of. And you're then able to receive rewards if that pool is successful in capturing some of the snapshot. They will then airdrop FBEETS token holders who voted rewards for voting. Like, it's that simple. They are literally bribing you to come and vote for their pool, because they obviously receive excess emissions from the Beets distributions, which gives them an incentive to bribe you. So we've seen a massive war with some of these projects offering some pretty crazy rewards. Spooky Swap offers a $50,000 incentive plus 1.5k over 20%. We've had Fang come in, offer $12,000. Shrapnel was offering tens of thousands of dollars, so 99.85 thousand to Beets holders for voting for their pool. Liquid Driver offered around 33.4k worth of bribes. Like, these aren't bribes that we've seen in a long time, pretty much not since Convex. We haven't seen bribes in an ecosystem this big for this kind of locking model. And this is the power of the VE locking model that we're seeing exhibited on multiple protocols, and it's kind of becoming the gold standard at the moment, because people are seeing the power of the model and these bribes, because token holders are receiving crazy APYs. So how can you guys benefit? If you hold the Beets token, and you will need to come into Beethoven and stake the Beets token as FBEETS in this pool here, you can then come in and with your FBEETS that you have deposited in the stake function here, you can come in and you can vote in the snapshot for what pool you would like. And it's as simple as that. You just vote, and then if they're successful, you'll receive an airdrop with the corresponding amount of tokens in your wallet. You will literally receive excess rewards for voting for these gauges. So it's pretty crazy, because there's actually a calculator online for you to calculate how much you'll be making. And for example, if this Choral Symphony pool wins, for every 10,000 FBEETS you have, you'll be receiving $1,176. Or if the Fresh Stratera pool wins, you'll be getting $364 every single week for 10,000 Beets tokens. So 10,000 tokens right now is around $8,000. So for every $8,000, you could be receiving up to $1,000 in bribes. Now, can you guys comprehend the power of this? Every single week being bribed to hold these tokens and getting paid $1,000. Like, that is absolutely crazy to me, that you can have $8,000 worth of tokens and every week potentially receive up to $1,000. Now, obviously, it probably won't be this high, because this pool is unlikely to win. A pool closer to $400 might win, but that's still an insane amount of bribes to Beets token holders that you're receiving. So what it's actually done is it's effectively doubled the APR for staking Beets. So right now, the APR for staking Beets is 90%, and you can go into the Fidelio Duetto stake pool on Beethoven and stake your Beets for FBEETS. But at the moment, we're seeing, because of these bribes, Beets holders are actually earning up to double the APR. So the effective APR is closer to 200% now on Beethoven, which is why we've seen the price increase so heavily, because people are realizing, well, this is crazy. Like, I can break even within a couple months of just holding this token if these bribes sustain. And every single week with these new rounds, we're seeing the bribes get bigger and bigger and bigger. Last week, I think the bribes were like 20, 30,000. This week, we're seeing 6-figure bribes. Like, the bribes are absolutely ramping up. Obviously, though, not all of you will own the Beets token, and that's why I kind of want to go into a little strategy here for how you're able to accumulate the token, because it has run up and it's at 90 cents now, and it hasn't really dipped. Like, this thing just isn't dipping. So for non-holders, you potentially might want to get in because I'm pretty bullish on Beethoven. So what would I recommend? Well, firstly, you can farm the Beets token. So if you come into Beethoven and you go through any of these pools, all of these pools pay out in Beets. So I've gone through this strategy before, but if you want to buy LQDR, which is another token I'm bullish on, the Pirate Party will pay you out in Beets tokens, which you can then stake as FBEETS under the stake portal here. So all of these pools, if you enter in on Beethoven, are going to pay you out in Beets tokens, which is super valuable because you're able to accumulate Beets without buying into all-time highs. That's the first way. The next way is obviously dollar cost averaging. If we do get a little pullback here in the Beets price, it could be a good idea to start accumulating this token to take advantage of these rewards. So I wouldn't be FOMOing in at 90 cents, but the reason why I bring this topic up is because it means a much bigger thing for the Fantom ecosystem as a whole. So Beets, in terms of one occurrence, is a pretty big occurrence in the ecosystem because obviously if you're holding the tokens, you're receiving a couple 100%. Like it's an amazing proposition. But there's something bigger at play here. Because do you think that Spirit Swap and some of these Spooky Swap and some of these other major dexes on Fantom, aren't looking at this and taking notes? Like, wrong. They absolutely are. Like, these protocols will be looking at what's happening in Beethoven right now and saying, like, we need a slice of the action. So here is my thesis with what this is going to create in the Fantom ecosystem. My thesis is that these other protocols will be taking note, and they'll be either jumping on the gauge model if they're not already, or they'll be significantly increasing their rewards in order to incentivize these bribes. They've seen the six-figure bribes with the Beethoven Wars at the moment, and they're going, wow, like what if we implement this theory and then we can start getting bribes and then we can incentivize people to hold our governance token. So what we could actually see across the Fantom ecosystem over the coming months is a lot of these governance protocols, for example, Spooky Swap and some of the major protocols like Liquid Driver, potentially, if they start implementing this model or at least kind of switching to the gauge model, they can start to implement these bribes as well, which will see multiple governance tokens across Fantom explode in price because now you have a reason to hold these tokens above their base functionality. So I do think that we're going to see a bit of a trend emerge in Fantom because of this. I mean, we've seen this model come up on multiple protocols, Platypus Finance and Avalanche, 100 Finance. Like we've seen the VE model being implemented across multiple protocols since Curve. However, we are seeing it unfold in real time on Fantom, and it's ramped up in a way that it never has before. The Spirit Wars were tiny compared to this. Like, this is a real gold rush right now on the Fantom ecosystem, and it's honestly been a crazy week. So what I would recommend to all of you is get in the Beethoven X Discord, start learning a little bit more about the wars. Crypto Clay does amazing content to cover the wars, if I have his tweet here, and he goes through pretty much everything that is going on to do with the Beets Wars. So I highly recommend checking out his content and getting in the Discord, getting into the nitty gritty and discovering a little more about what's happening on Beethoven right now. But Solid Swap is the other major development in the Fantom ecosystem. Obviously, we saw that huge TVL increase on Fantom when the Solid Swap snapshot was announced. If you guys can remember, the Fantom TVL went parabolic and hit 14 billion. It's pulled back now, but I am pretty happy that we're consolidating in this 10 billion range because it indicates to me that a lot of funds are staying on chain, which is super bullish. But it's actually launched now. The exchange is actually live, if you didn't know already, which enables you to start swapping some of these tokens on Solidly. Now, there's not a lot of functionality yet because distributions don't start until the 24th. So the Solid token won't be being distributed to the major protocols on Fantom until the 24th, but it's now live and it's being deployed within a week. So what do I think this will do to the Fantom ecosystem is the major question. Well, we saw this pullback after the snapshot, but I think if Solid Swap can actually be a success, it can capture a lot more liquidity in the Fantom ecosystem. Because if you guys don't know, the only way to obtain these Solid tokens is through owning the governance tokens on Fantom. For example, BOO, LQDR, FBEETS. These tokens will be the key to you guys receiving emissions through these Solid tokens. So OxDAO was a purpose-built DAO to be able to capture liquidity and capture these Solid distributions. So that could be a play for you guys to take advantage of to be able to receive these tokens. But if successful and if this protocol can be a success, and it's Andre, so, I have great belief in the protocol. I think that SolidSwap could lead to a huge influx of activity on the Fantom chain, just like we saw pre-snapshot. I honestly think that we could see a bit of a resurgence because of SolidSwap and just because of the power Andre has over the community. Like, this project is really top tier in my opinion. I just want to explain a little bit and give like a high level explanation right now of what Solidly actually is, because I know a lot of people are confused what it is. Is it a DEX? How is it different from something like a Uniswap? And I'll just kind of explain briefly. There's a great article by SolidX called All About Solidly here, which kind of explains what it does, but I'll go through quickly and give my thoughts on what it is so you guys can start to take advantage when the distributions actually start in a week's time. Like, this is happening in less than a week now. It's really, really massive. So Solidly is an AMM. So it's an automated market maker like Uniswap, but it has a slightly different mechanic to it. The token is these projects were distributed NFTs, and by holding these NFTs, so the top 20 projects on Fantom by TVL that own these NFTs will be able to receive solid emissions as they come in next week. So it's kind of combining two different models here. It's taking the VE model, so the vote escrow model, from a protocol like Curve, which means the longer you lock up these tokens, the solid tokens, the more rewards you'll receive. So if you lock up solid, once these tokens are emitted as VSolid, you'll receive a percentage of the protocol revenue, which is then distributed to holders based on how long you lock for. So the longer you lock, the more rewards you'll receive. That's what VE means. And then the 3-3 model is referring to the game theory, like we saw in Olympus DAO, Time Wonderland, which is kind of a rebase theory, which means that it incentivizes you to lock up and relock your tokens. So the whole point of Solid Swap is to kind of capture liquidity and keep it in the ecosystem. Andre's vision isn't just to pump and dump TVL in Fantom. His vision is to attract liquidity and keep it locked in the Fantom ecosystem. And that's why I'm super bullish on Solid Swap as a protocol. As I said, the mechanisms are borrowed from Curve Finance, so they have a gauge model. Guys, just what I talked about with Beethoven, SolidSwap has a gauge model. So we're seeing the gauges pop up everywhere on Fantom right now. And I think this is going to be bullish because we're creating this flywheel effect of liquidity coming in, being locked up, bribed to put in more liquidity. It's kind of this flywheel of liquidity on Fantom, which could really be kickstarted by SolidSwap, and we're already seeing it on Beethoven. And as I said, we're probably going to see it happen with some of the other DEXs on Fantom. Now they're seeing the success of Beethoven. So SolidSwap just adds another layer to this because there is a serious amount of liquidity that is going to not only come onto the Fantom chain, but stay in the ecosystem because you're so incentivized to do so through these rewards. And the whole point of SolidSwap is to be sustainable. It's not a Ponzi scheme. The whole point of Andre's vision is to incentivize fees over liquidity. He doesn't want liquidity coming in and leaving. He wants you to be incentivized to chase the fees and not just chase a quick APR, which is the power of the SolidSwap protocol. As I said, the emissions are coming out on the 24th of February, as it says here. Redeployment could happen, obviously, if something goes wrong. But if all goes to plan, the 24th of February is where we are seeing the emissions starting to come in. It's going to be super awesome, I think. So this protocol is honestly going to kickstart something new in the Fantom ecosystem. I'm really excited for the SolidSwap launch, and I think that it is going to have a huge impact on Fantom. We've already seen the Fantom statistics go absolutely crazy with the transactions, and even post snapshot, we're still seeing these transactions stay really strong. So I think there is huge scope for growth in the Fantom ecosystem with these protocols. So how would I play this? How would I play SolidSwap? And how would I play this kind of Beets war narrative? Because there might be some of you that want exposure to the narrative that I've been explaining today, but you want to know how to get in and how to start taking advantage. And I'm going to spell out the exact strategy for you guys to start to be able to take advantage of this VE mechanic, which we're seeing pop up across Fantom right now. The first tip I would give is start accumulating the best Fantom projects. It's as simple as that. The top governance projects are going to receive these solid distributions, and the top governance projects are going to benefit the most from bribes. So you want to be looking at some of the biggest projects like Liquid Driver, obviously Beethoven, as we spoke today, Spooky Swap, Spirit Swap, some of these top projects, Tarot Finance, I really like as well. These top projects will be the ones that benefit the most because as liquidity comes into Fantom, they're going to be spread spread across the top protocols first, and the top protocols can benefit the most from the bribes as well. So these are the projects I'd be looking at. And also potentially, if you want a solid swap play, then OxDAO is another great place to be able to deploy your capital. OxDAO was and the OXD token is the governance token of OxDAO. It was a purpose-built DAO to be able to capture liquidity for SolidSwap to receive distribution. So if you hold OXD tokens, you can actually stake them and receive Solid. I believe the token has dropped a little bit recently. And obviously there was a lot of people farming the token, but I still think this could be an interesting play. By no means am I saying ape into this token, but I think it does have a little bit of potential here. If your main priority is to stack Solid, I would highly look into OxDAO. And obviously the easy and the safer play is to stack the main governance tokens on the Fantom ecosystem and farm them, because Fantom is offering some of the best rates in crypto. I did a video a few days ago talking about my Beethoven farming strategy with Liquid Driver. That still to this day is one of my favorite strategies. I highly suggest getting on that. And I will also be revealing a couple strategies next week for you guys on Fantom to be able to take advantage and stack these governance tokens across the Fantom ecosystem. So it's been an absolute jam-packed video, and I had some other things to share with you, but I'm going to hold them for next week because I want to have a bigger discussion next week about how I think some of these mechanics can factor into the growth of Fantom in the future, because I think we're seeing a real revival of the Fantom chain right now. Obviously, over the past few weeks, there's been a little bit of a slump as some of the hype and euphoria surrounding the VE33 snapshot kind of died down, but now we're seeing some of that hype being injected again because of Beethoven, because of SolidSwap emissions next week, and we're also seeing a kind of a resurgence in the Fantom price action. It's actually held up very well compared to other protocols. It's only down 7.5% over the last week, so I continue to be extremely bullish on Fantom. It is my favorite layer one, as I preach time and time again, and I will keep preaching that message until Fantom is a top 10 project. And you guys can be here to watch the journey and come along on this crazy journey with me. And I'll help you guys out to profit when opportunities arise like they are right now. So thank you guys so much for tuning into the show. I will catch you next week, where we will talk about some insane strategies to be able to capitalize not only on Fantom, but across Luna and Avalanche as well, because there are some serious opportunities to profit through staking in this market at the moment. I hope you have a lovely day. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.